Welcome to the WatchTower podcast, your number one podcast for film reviews from the great Tower Productions and the Towercast Network. I am your temporary and or knockoff host, Michael Dello.
There you go.
Joined by my tantalizing, amazing crew, amazing partners in crime. We got John Eric Castro giving you an actor's perspective.
You can't cheat, bribe, or squirm your way out of this one.
Amazing, amazing. Look at him. He's acting now. We got Christian Yokomoto Medina, who makes amazing posters and is giving us just the overall perspective on film appreciation. Hello, Yoko.
Oh, hello, fellows and fillettes.
There we go.
Sabi.
We have the one, the only, the single Austin Young joining us today.
Single.
Making sure we're sounding good. And
Single ladies.
this is our last Watchtower of 2020. We did it. We've done a thing. It's 2020. We made it. The Watchtower has officially survived its first pandemic. I can't wait for round two. So yeah, I mean it's been kind of crazy, guys, and we're closing off this year of film appreciation with a nice holiday special. The Netflix. Why does that sound weird? Netflix. Klaus. I have a lot to kind of share with you guys as far as like the making of it. I think with animated films, what's kind of special is that we talk about the actors, the directors, the lighting department and all that. But when it comes to animated film, you can talk about the voice actors, but really everything else is done behind the scenes, animating, the years spent in preparation. It's a big team effort. And even though it's a film, it takes on a whole different life as far as like how to put it all together. But before we get into these facts, how about we go around? You could say, how was your holiday? And also, what'd you think of the movie? Castro, I don't know if you want to kind of kick it off.
My holidays, my Christmas was okay. I'm not a big Christmas guy.
Amazing.
Ain't that the holiday spirit?
Ain't that the spirit?
I'm one of those guys, I guess.
That's fine. And what'd you think of the movie?
Klaus is pretty cool, man. I read somewhere before seeing the movie that you're supposed to see it without knowing too much about it. Right, and I don't know much about St. Nicholas, but I like how they gave you a different perspective of like how the whole fairy tale came about in a more modern way. You know what I mean?
Modern yet kind of old, kind of nostalgic. It was this interesting mix. Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah,
Still felt kind of timeless. Yeah.
Yoko, did you have what is it? A fantastic Christmas and/or movie watching?
Which
it was super fantastic. You have no idea how it is having first Christmas with a crying baby.
Oh, damn.
I tell you, wrapping paper and bows solve everything, right, Yoko?
Yeah, you could say that, yeah. But it was pretty nice. It was chill because obviously pandemic. Hopefully a lot of you people kept that in mind.
That's true, man. Guys kept it at least down to like 5 family members, right?
Yeah. I mean, 20 if you count twice, but
hey, at least.
It was good. And the film?
The film itself, man, I love this movie. I remember last year when it came out, like I didn't really want to see it because I thought it was just going to be like a normal run-of-the-mill kind of like Christmas.
What? Did you see the trailer?
No, actually, no, I did not.
Oh, okay, because the trailer got me.
I just saw the picture of it.
Oh, okay.
I just thought, that was going to be a normal like Netflix type of
Just another one of the holiday specials you throw out for kids, right? That
exactly.
Like something they can watch.
That's what I thought.
That's the first thought for sure.
Little did I know that I ended up watching it with my wife. By the end, I was tearing up. That movie's really
Dude, I
good.
teared up twice, and I want you guys to guess which parts. The first one made me choke up, and the second one for sure just started bawling.
Okay, I'm guessing the first one is when Daddy sent him out of the house, and he had to become a real mailman. Like that. That gets everybody teared up, right? Adult responsibility. I want to guess.
The first one made me choke up, so that's a little bit of a hint.
Well, I think. Is it the one when he was talking like that little girl or something like that? Or they were like, I know the one that got...
That wasn't enough. But the first one
was
when he decides to make the toys and Klaus doesn't want to, but then he goes in because of the whole...
Oh, yeah.
With the little boat that kind of raft that he makes for the little girl. That moment, that's the first one that kind of choked me up.
And the second one, dude.
When Klaus dies, it's like... I ended up. That's
or
where
was it the family flashback?
No, it's when he's about to leave in the boat, and the little girl comes in the little ski.
See that little girl? It just freaking.
Oh, dude, that was so good. I was like,
it worked, you bastard. No,
yeah,
I think like everybody, I thought it was going to be one of those just what do you call it? Just like the kids holiday whatever. You just kind of put a bow on it and tape it out, add SpongeBob, and it's great. And I was thinking like, it's one of those, but yeah, there was something just very different about it that caught me from the trailer, and then caught me from like the way it was presenting itself, that it seemed special enough to give it a try, and I'm glad I did. And I mean, that's why it even got like Oscar buzz for 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think it was nominated for Best Animated Film.
It was. I was rooting for it, but no, it did not.
Which one?
I forgot which one was. I forgot which one was it.
That's what I wanted to ask. Is this like a different style of animation? This is very different from Toy Story. It's got
I'll kind of get into it. Okay, so the director came up with this idea back in 2010. His name's Sergio Pablas, and basically he wanted to do a Christmas story that was kind of talking about like the origins of Christmas, because he thought that would bring a lot of people to the kind of nostalgia aspect of like decrypting like the mysteries behind Santa Claus and all that. He wanted to do that. He wanted to add his own flair, but then also he didn't want this to be like a 3D animated film or anything with like a new type of CG and all that, because he says, I wanted to think about 3D as being a different art style as opposed to being the future of animation, because everybody's jumping into that right now, but that's not what he saw this movie coming as. So everything's 2D, everything's drawn, the characters all had to be kind of sketched out, planned out, frame for frame.
The way I describe it is like a picture within a picture type.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, but yeah, everything from the background elements had to be drawn in to create depth within each of the scenes. They actually had to draw in layers, and each of those layers was pushed further and further back. So then when you add these like 30-something layers, it looks like a cave or it looks like an actual city, and it's because they're drawing layers and stacking them on top of each other.
Oh, dang.
So yeah, this movie stylistically just looks very different from a lot of the other like 2D films that you'll see out there. And when you kind of look into the care that he put into it, he knew he wanted to do something different. He knew he wanted to do a 2D style animation, but he wanted to make it feel modern and expressive, which then came in this idea of what really separates 2D lighting or 2D animations from 3D animations is lighting and lighting techniques. You know, the ability for like a character to walk into a room and be hit with light in a certain way, and they look different. If you look,
this is different. This one was considered 2D, so those are different.
It's considered 2D, which is crazy because it feels like it has a lot of depth to it. You see characters walking from one room to the other, and light hits them, and then they get obscured by light. They have shadows, right. And it was a new technology that they were working with, that they were trying to actually do. It took 2 years to actually finish this film, and it was such a difficult process of actually coloring and all that they only finished a month till the release on Netflix.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. So like real nail biter, kind of like to the wire. In fact, the trailer was just a proof of concept that actually got Netflix to want to take on the project, because it wanted to be more ambitious than just a regular animation. It was trying to do a new type of animation style that had lighting, shading, texture tracking. It's kind of crazy what they built into it. Yeah. They wanted to try this style where to separate the characters from their backgrounds and add like depth and layers to the 2D style. What they wanted to do is try to see if they could implement lighting. So trying to implement things like a sun source or a candle source illuminating the characters, but them still staying in this kind of 2D form. It was a really complicated process where they had to bring in this French company called Les Films du Poisson Rouge. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, it sounds legit.
But basically, they had to invent and improve this technology of teaching computers how to track 2D animation characters and teach them that each of the line sketches were for a single form. So like in 3D, you animate like an appendage, but on a 2D sketch, they're just lines on like paper. So you have to teach the computer how to look at these lines and determine that's an arm, this is a body, that's a face, and these lines connect to make eyebrows, to create like faces. the faces are 3D, but they're not. It was really amazing what they kind of created, where then the computer would guess based on its calculations what the dimensions of that character would be and how the light would hit them. So basically, they animated everything in 2D. Everything looks very flat. It's kind of like those old cartoons that you would see, like Hercules, where it looks like a character pasted onto like a background. Where they don't really pop out any. But then the computer would track the art, the painting, and everything, and then would track either lighting, so brightening the colors, or shadows.
That seems like it's something that it was, being not just 2 years. I think it was like 2 years.
This project started back in 2010.
No, but that technology, the new technology that they had.
That new technology only perfected itself probably within the last like 3 years, and then it took 2 years of drawing each and every frame, basically putting the movie together, then having the computer determine where the shadows were at, where the lights are at, and the artist having to fine tune where the shadows were being, because basically this was tracking the animation. That's what all this technology is just tracking the animation and saying, add light here, take away light here, add shadows, and just following the characters. And then another thing.
Okay, go for it.
No, I was going to say another thing is that to make this feel more lively, to give it more depth, they also had the computer track textures. So if you look at like the clothing even has a little bit of a difference from like the skin tones. The skins are softer. The clothing might be rougher. Boxes might have a little bit more of like a grit to them.
I didn't notice that, but I mean, I'm going to notice.
Yeah, it's crazy. So really what gives this film its charm visually is that there was a lot of new technology being implemented to do this kind of like 2D tracing for lighting effects, for texture effects, that now, I mean, it's crazy to think that this came out last year and nobody really talked about it too much, but I mean, it's showing the progression of what 2D animation can do and that new type of art style and all that kind of stuff, as far as what computers are able to computationally add on to animations, textures, and all that.
Yeah. Now, especially now that you explain kind of all the different things that they had to do with animation and just like all these programs they had to basically discover to give it this distinct feel. I kind of relate this movie a lot with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm. I gotta see that. Everybody tells me that.
It's
you really do.
These animations, they show a renaissance, really. They show a new way of thinking about the whole like animation world in general. Because I mean, like when I was looking at like a little interview with Business Insider, which is where a lot of this information came from, he was talking about how, it's 3D animation seems to be this idea that everybody, once they saw it, they were like, that's the next step. When you're animating now, you're not animating for 2D, you're animating 3D. Like 3D is this next kind of like evolutionary path for animators, because it's easier. The programs are getting better for that. There's Blender, there's all these different things that you can try out. But he kind of saw it as like, no, there's a divide. You can choose to do that, or you can choose to go with the 2D art style. And like people abandon it because it takes so much longer.
That's what I was saying. Like that's why people prefer the 3D, which I got used to with like Toy Story and all those.
But we're definitely seeing that now with the technology being able to understand 2D tracings and track those as character models and move them around. I mean, the 2D style can come back with kind of like a rebirth. And even we saw that with like Miles Morales, where part of it could have been in like 2D just to give it like a texture style, even though it's mostly in a 3D universe. And even though 90% of the film is really done in this 2D sketch for sketch, everything's there. Very few elements that are very hard to spot, and you can try, but it's incredibly hard to, based on what they were saying. Mm-hmm. Some parts are actually 3D animated and hyperimposed in to the point that if, let's say, they were going to move the camera around a reindeer, they would animate one of the first few reindeers and 2D draw the rest of the reindeers, just so that way they could create the parallax effect. But basically, it's still 2D. They only use 3D models to help them accomplish some things that would have been too difficult to draw otherwise.
Kind of like what was happening with Disney at their like kind of renaissance age during the 90s.
Yeah.
So as CG was getting better, like the way they kind of like would blend in the CG, like a 3D world with a lot of the drawings, with a lot of 2D, it's like superimposed.
Mm-hmm. And with just where these animators were at with this kind of growing technology, I mean, it's blended in seamlessly. I mean, I always like when I watched it the first time, I really had trouble determining like, did they 3D animate this? Like, are they like models or did they draw it because it's in this weird place? It even reminded me of, like the Disney kind of Renaissance. I felt like the animation was very close to like The Emperor's New Groove and like those kind of animation styles and all that. Like there's something about it that I just couldn't place my finger on, but it's really interesting because he chose this style very specifically. They offered to try to do it in like a 3D modeling and all that, but he chose this style because he knew that the story was going to feel nostalgic, even though it was very fresh and nobody really heard it before. And he wanted the animation to feel nostalgic. Like it came out in like the 90s or so, like that it was like a childhood kind of cartoon where basically it hits you harder than I think newer animated films would probably hit you for like a Santa origin story.
How can you say, like, there's this kind of like warmth that, especially with a story like this, which is about like the heartbreaking story of people coming into selflessness and actually giving hope to kids. Like for that story, the way they decide to present it helped a lot with the like this just warm fuzzy feeling that it makes you feel like you were in this cabin watching this movie. Like with the hot cocoa and everything in the 90s.
I kept getting surprised at like the little way they found to tell the fairy tales of the old, like the chimney, the reindeer.
Yeah, right. Like it felt very fresh and very creative. That like
it kept surprising me. Like, oh, that's how. Okay,
yeah, right.
Way in, so they threw him in through the chimney. That's where the whole Santa Claus thing came.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I thought it was so fresh because I mean, whenever like somebody says, "Oh, they're coming up with a Christmas movie," you're like, you can't do anything that's been done. It's impossible.
I kind of like eight of them. I don't know if you guys could tell. I love this shit about films.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know which ones like can you guys tell which other ones like they kind of implemented in a modern way?
Okay, so there was the
Santa Claus's laugh.
Yeah. That one. There was a stocking one. I like the stocking one.
Yeah, the stocking one is.
Which was the stocking one?
That basically he was like, oh, if you write a letter, like he'll leave it in your stockings. But basically, there were dogs sleeping in the house, and he didn't want to have to put them in the house.
Exactly.
Shoved them in the socks. Yeah.
What about the naughty list? Are you gonna throw that stuff on?
Yeah.
the whole coal.
Did you know? Apparently, the way that scene was animated is supposed to like it pays homage to like a Breaking Bad scene, where like the way he's lit or so. Look on
now you're gonna have what?
I gotta look it up again, but apparently like the lighting was inspired from that because once they were able to implement lighting into this animation style, it gave a lot of the way that they presented the story like new life. I mean, you probably noticed it like when he was like telling kids like to write a letter, he was like hiding in the shadows like a drug dealer, like talking to kids and all that. All that was really because of like the lighting, but they felt like they had that kind of freedom that they could play with now, like you would have in like regular films because like 2D doesn't have lighting, so everything's kind of like it's like putting stickers in the right position. But with this one, they could put them in the shadows. They can make the woodsman character come out of the shadows and look scarier and have him illuminated. Yeah, they could play with it a lot because of the new technology. It was kind of crazy.
First of all, what was going on in the freaking town?
I'm
gonna get into the story.
Okay, let's get into the story. It was weird because, okay, if you think about it, Christmas is a tradition, right? Like basically we all celebrate it because it's traditional, but I guess it was also kind of showing us like the bad things that can come with tradition because basically for them, the only reason they kept fighting with each other is not because they knew each other, just because it's tradition. You're just supposed to go and hate that other person that you're neighbors with because they have a different last name because I guess there's like incest going on, but it's a child's film. Let's not talk about that.
I love how for no reason, like one of the neighbors throws some like fish to like the fresh clothes that
right. Or like that guy who was in the wheelchair that like the kids just like throw everywhere, like tip him off. Yeah.
I love those things, man. That's what got me too. And then when they show the progression of the kids picking up the cherry and then the neighbor bringing the
like that was it was so heartwarming, especially like I remember watching it in 2019 and thinking like it was just a really nice like fresh take. And I mean I think even when I started watching it, like my family put it on, I didn't really give it too much attention, and then I like started watching it and I was like, this is like pretty good. And I think right now where it's like 2020 and we're all like waiting for something that feels nice and warm and fuzzy, it's like, oh, this feels good again. I like this. So
and then I love how they showed the love interest. Like I kind of like, why do they always have to have a love interest? But it made the story, you know, blend in.
But
it makes
it was also
those little kids just wanted to learn.
it was also good. Like it wasn't like the traditional like, oh, I want her and how do I get her? It was like,
exactly.
No, she's the fish hag that nobody wants to deal with, and then
she just wants to get the hell out of there. She's been there
right. Like that was cool, and I mean,
the ways they found a new way to tell the story is beautiful, dude.
Yes.
You know, it's that whole thing with like animated films. I mean, that's why they can either like flop or they can be really, really good because every detail is like planned out. Because it's not like, oh, it just like the actor ran over there and tripped, but then it made the scene better. It was they everything, especially this 2D animation, you have to plan out every single scene that you're going to be showing on the screen.
When you say 2D, man, all I can think is like a flip book.
Right.
You have to draw it on. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like, to think that everything you're really seeing, that was all drawn out and drawn twice. There's a sketching period where they say, this is what we think that the character is going to look like in this motion. And then a second one where an artist has to go in and redefine the lines. And yeah. And you've probably had that, Yoko, right? When you're like sketching, first you have the rough and then you have like the fine detail.
I'm fascinated with that.
Yeah. Basically, that's it.
And then the two other steps they added in once they finally finalized everything, or I guess the three other steps was they had to layer the background. So make each and every one of the individual backgrounds, layer it, add lighting effects that were tracked onto the background, tracked onto the characters, and then texture effects that were tracked onto the background and characters. Like
that makes me want to watch it again just to catch those little.
I mean,
especially like what you say about the whole lighting thing. You could notice that, especially with all the candle scenes. It was like this really awesome brightness to all the characters. That's what I really love about this movie. This movie, again, since another reason why it reminded me a lot of Spider-Man is because these two movies are those movies that no matter what point do I press pause on the movie, it's one of those frames that I would like to print out and hang. Because almost every
it just looked perfect, right?
It's very artistic and it looks really good no matter what frame you land on.
I feel like it's just showing that there's a lot of ways that the industry can like really shake up animations where they don't all feel the same. And this is a really good example of how somebody was able to take what's the old techniques and re-innovate them a little bit where then it feels so fresh from like everything else that's out there. You know, there's nothing that I can even compare it to visually. And then story-wise, it's just so unique and so pleasant to kind of like experience for the first time, you know?
That's what I was telling Yokomoto, like that everything that you just said, Delo, was in the trailer. I don't know, when you saw the trailer, the original story, you know, different type of 2D, 3D. I didn't know that, but now you know, like, wow, that's different.
Yeah.
It's truly impressive. And I really fell in love with the Klaus himself.
Right.
He always has this like this awesome kind of character design to him.
Is that Saint Nick's story?
No.
There's so many different like
dude that he couldn't have babies.
Yeah.
That's so hard, dude.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying. Like I didn't know. Like, damn, it's a little too real for kids.
The losing the Mrs. Klaus, like that was depressing. That was just like.
That's why you just kept.
I was like, oh yeah.
Oh man, and then I think the scene that got me like teared up was when those people, they're not like elves, they're actually like Eskimos, or I forgot what they were, but I actually looked up the tribe.
Like the outsiders, yeah.
No, but you look up the people that they're based off of, and those people dress like that all the time, and that's actually how they live. Like I forgot what they're called though.
Kind of like the Scandinavian type.
Yeah, they're like
they were Indians.
Finnish.
Just the tents.
Yeah, well, they are. It's a Finnish kind of Native American or not Native American, native Finnish I want to say American at the end of it, but no, like native people. That I like how they use those as the elves.
Yeah.
Really good at like making toys and all that. That's kind of weird. But that scene when that home that was gonna have all their kids and everything like that were for Klaus and all that they filled it up with the little, like, I guess I want to say elves.
And for a second, you thought he was gonna get mad, but then he was like, "Oh," because they all look at him.
Oh yeah, it was just
with all the little workers.
all the little.
And I like his progression too. Like doesn't talk, talks a little bit, and then he just lovable.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful.
What did you think of that kind of mystical element that I don't know, it's that kind of like magic movie or magic in the movie that the wife was there but you don't know she's there, and like I guess kind of when it reveals that she was the one kind of like
she was the one
and all that. That was nice. That was just like a real nice kind of.
I like the first one where it's the wind guiding them towards the picture.
Yeah.
The picture, the little picture that the girl drew with the house, and then she sat there.
Yeah.
Telling you, man, those little just got me, dude.
And the thing about that is it's not like as magical where you can say like, oh, okay, that was completely a ghost of her actually talking to him. It can be just that's the way he interprets it. His conscience just tells him that.
That's what I was thinking. I didn't know. On the side, I didn't think it was the wife. It was just saying like, well, I'm old. I'm going with the signs.
Well, like,
that's
do you
the way
think that because the way it made it seem is that they just kind of go into the wind and then that's them. They're just kind of gone. But then like at the very end where he says, every year I get to see my best friend, and then he like sits there. Do you think he comes back? Is that what it is? Is he there? Is it a wind? Did he get stung every Christmas? I don't know. Like,
I don't think so. I think it's just him reminding himself of the stories, like kind of like the same way that Klaus remembered his wife.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like he knows that this day is the special day that they both built, and now that he's gone, he's like, you know what? For me, this is the day that I just sit down here. These workers are doing all the other stuff, all the Santa Claus stuff, but for me, I'm at this point where I'm just sitting down in the chimney and imagining that my friend is here.
Man.
Yeah, I know, dude. I'm telling you, dude. It had a bunch of surprises. It just got me sometimes.
But it just had a lot of heart to it. I mean, this like I said, this one just felt so original to everything else because I mean, like even this past holiday, like, you know, usually my family goes and we look through all like the Christmas films and all that kind of stuff and just, you know, try to find something fun, and everything after a while you just feel like, man, I've seen this like, you know, plenty of times and plenty of remakes and all that you just, you know, it loses some of that magic. But I mean, this brought it back in a very new, fresh way where, you know, it just like you want to follow that story, you know, like it's just it was really, really nice. Really well done.
I'm still with the original Santa with Santa Claus. What's the original film?
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen, the Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus.
That's my story. You know?
Yeah, I get you.
Got the powers of Santa.
And what can I say? Like the cool thing about this movie is that it kind of like to refer it as when it goes story wise, like it's kind of like with the whole zombie craze. A lot of people like for a moment, like you get a lot of people. There's just way too many movies with the zombie theme, right?
Yeah.
And then you get people that just say, you know what? Screw this whole zombie. It's just all of it is zombies. You already know how it is. But then the whole thing is that sometimes all it takes is just that like one idea that even though you go through the same steps, you tell it in a different way. Mm-hmm. And now like, oh, you know what? Yeah, zombies is actually not that bad, but somebody told it differently. Like I'm into zombies again. So it's kind of like
it's that overly saturated kind of market that it becomes. It's so overly saturated that everybody knows that you'll make money with it, but then also everybody knows that like nothing feels original other than the originals. You know, like
exactly.
You have to watch the classics for every movie I watch is like before the 90s, you know, like or before the 2000s, just so that way they could be like good Christmas films, and then like, yeah. And like after that, you're just like, okay, you're just part two of the good one. Like,
just
why am I going?
Yeah, one of my favorite lines that one of them says, I think, is the theme of the whole movie. is one, a true selfless act always sparks another.
Oh yeah.
That one really got to me. I had to write it down, man, because it's true. You hope you do something nice for the other one to do something nice, right? Because of your gesture, you know.
Mm-hmm. Don't you feel like with a lot of these films, they're marketed, and I think that's what we kind of get like we get discouraged with, I think, as like film appreciators and all that, for like little kid movies that are teaching you like don't steal from your neighbor because they'll steal from you or something like that, where you're just like, okay, it's a moral your mom told you, like
Captain Planet, man. I can't stand it. It's just too much.
Captain Planet, like
it's too much heart.
Hey.
Too much.
In fact, after watching it, I started throwing lit cigarettes on the ground, you know, not even smoking them, just so I could hurt him, you know. No, but with this one, I think it succeeded in doing what like all great animated films or films should do, which is connect with audience of every age and something like that.
Especially because of the main character gesture.
Yeah,
you know, a little bit edgy.
Yeah,
everybody's lazy at one point. Yeah,
I know. You just want the nice, easy route that's just going to take you there, but then you realize, like, once you do something that's truly, I guess, giving and receive that back, there's nothing that could change that feeling. And it's nice. It's a pleasant reminder of like being good as a person. And, you know, and I like that this one wasn't focusing on like, oh man, how's this man going to turn into Santa? Because there's so many films like that. That like, I'm waiting for you to turn into Santa. That's all you're here for. But this one was like,
that gesture was Santa. When I started watching the movie, I was like, "Whoa! Like, is this Santa? This is the..." But then, you know, Klaus stuff.
Yeah,
I thought it was him.
I mean, technically nowadays he is Santa, especially with all the Amazon packages that are out there. They are Santa. You know, my freaking Christmas is sponsored by UPS at this point.
That's true, dude. Amazon.
Especially this year, damn.
But it's nice. It's nice having those kind of messages where they don't feel cheesy. I think it came out in a very organic way, which is something that the director really wanted to emphasize, that just there's something about this style of animating and style of storytelling that feels organic. And I guess it's because it's handcrafted and you can kind of feel that through the drawings and the way that the characters move around. It connects with you on a way that I think there's other films that aren't able to do that off the bat with their style, you know?
Exactly. Like, that's why I wanted to ask, like, what did you guys think of the main character gesture? I think it was perfect.
I thought he was really good. His character was really good. And what I do love is that it is believable the way he becomes that selfless.
Oh, yeah.
It is believable. Yeah.
That it doesn't just kind of pop out of nowhere that he's like, oh, I better be good, or Satan's coming, or Krampus. But, you know, it's something that, you know, he was really...
Because when he's delivering the packages, he sees the kid that threw him the snowball. You know, in the kid's movie, and he's going to put the present. He's like, screw that guy. And
it's funny how even the naughty nice list just came from the fact that he's petty. Like, that's great, you know? Like... But I like the way that he was able to kind of grow as a character.
Exactly.
But like, even though it starts off with him being this kind of like
I love the beginning,
rich
man.
kid, yeah,
the latte, like whatever he's drinking.
Yeah, he's like, oh, let me bring you one, and then like claps his hands and all that kind of stuff. Like, even though he starts off like that, you really want to see where he kind of goes, and you're almost like, I love that. You could laugh at him suffering because he was crappy at the beginning, and then you feel for him like when he's a better person. Even at the end when he kind of like becomes a dad and gets with that girl, and like he's like a super nice like to his kids. Like, I don't know, it just feels very like heartwarming and just.
I love how they transitioned to the girl, man. The girl just wanted to leave. She didn't want to teach anything. And then the slow, how we get like the kids just want to know their names.
Right. That was so great. Yeah. When the kids,
like, why did she have the coins inside the
fish?
A fish.
So nobody would steal them, because that town, like, everybody's stealing things and throwing things, and
They're not gonna steal a fish?
I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised that she even had like sales and all that. She was like, oh, the mackerels are on sale or something like that. Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, very, very well put together film. I mean, it's something that I think if you want it for the holiday season, it works perfectly as being original, something you can watch.
Yeah, that's a good way to teach your kids a more modern way of St. Nicholas.
Yeah, like, I'd rather have that story that at the end has this moral of like, be more giving, be more like, whatever you do, others will do to you kind of like thing, where it's really positive message, really well told, instead of just like, okay, when's he gonna become Santa? Like I'm waiting. Exactly. He's gonna be Santa. It's in the name of the movie, but you know.
And then how we get the whole the fairy tale of reindeers flying. It was just an accident.
Oh yeah. They're just regular reindeers. It just flew off a cliff
in the morning. Oh man, it was just so many gems. I'm trying to name them all. It's beautiful.
One thing I really like here in the kid aspects of the kids in the town is that
the freaky ass ones too.
Yeah. But one thing one aspect I really liked was that basically there is this whole thing of the fear, the problems of indoctrination of your kids.
Oh, okay.
Because so you just basically this whole town just keeps on teaching their young ones that you have to hate these other half of the people.
Oh yeah.
You have to do it. And so because they're kids, they just follow whatever their father, the grandparents say, right?
Right.
But the moment that there's this event that happens when you know what, the kids can be actually themselves, and they can actually like go for themselves and think for themselves, and like, you know what, I want something else. And like right at that moment, like you can see that every single kid wasn't really bad. It's just the fact that they had to be with their parents with that ideology, and at the moment that they could break that thing and be all together,
yeah,
like, they were willing to do it.
That's what I was seeing with the old lady and the main old lady and the old guys, like the main guys. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the like, I guess like the mayors or whatever of their respective families, like the head.
The old lady, was that his son or what was that?
Okay, so if you think about it, which I mean, I'm not trying to be weird. Everybody's supposed to have the same last name as everybody else in town.
Okay.
And this is based in the past when it was cool to date your sister, you know? Everybody was doing it. It was your cousin, you know? It was exciting, you know?
The first and second cousin, you know?
I think honestly they're supposed to be like the grandparents of everybody. I want to say that's like an official
that. Okay.
Yeah, because I think they're like the eldest, so then it's like the eldest, and then it's like it goes down the line and everybody's on that family tree. But like, I mean,
okay, yeah, okay. I'm not even.
We don't have to dabble into that.
Exactly.
That's for some other YouTube channel, you know. Like, go figure it out, kid.
Yeah, man. Go start your theories.
But I really like how it's that thing that you know, the children, by them doing a nice thing because they wanted toys and all that kind of stuff, it taught their parents and the families in their neighborhood to be caring. Like, seeing that it's possible for them to care made them realize, like, I was there at one point where I just wanted to have fun and I wanted to have friends, and that's all they're doing. And it was nice to see how that kind of grew. Everything just grew so well. You know, the storyline with Klaus, the storyline with Chester, his love interest. What's her name?
What was her name?
I was gonna say,
I forget.
Tootie.
Dude, Megan? I like the moment where she's like, yeah, whatever, that's your name. The weird, that's my name.
Yeah.
And then she suddenly has that little moment of, you guys all want to learn? And then she kind of like puts her hair back and say, oh, beautiful, dude. If I could write stuff like that.
Right?
I don't know.
That was a genuine moment.
Yeah, because you saw the name, right? It said like Anissisi or something. I forget the name, what it was. But that's my name. And you just hear leaning, and
she's Alba, played by Rashida
Jones. Alba, there we go.
Alba. But yeah, man. The story, man. The story really got to me. The whole 2D, for sure, I didn't know about that, but the story, man.
And you know, it's
The Postman.
It's funny because, like, I know that there are other good, like, animated films that other people recommend. Like, if Carlos is hearing, My Life Zucchini, but I don't know. It's weird because when you look at animated films, you want to just think off the bat, like, it's one of those, it's going to have some weird childhood message behind it. And I don't need that right now. Like, I got bills to pay.
Right now,
got mouth. Yeah. I'm not ready for that, but to kind of break that step and try it out. Like, I'm glad to see when there's movies that can change my mind.
I'm glad that the guy took a risk, because went 2D and not the typical, like, it takes a lot of balls.
I mean, the risk to. I mean, it was a risk, and then it was also saying like, "Nah, I want this to be different. Let's try a new type of technology." That it was too hard for them. They needed to outsource to France. Like, if that doesn't tell you like how difficult this whole 2D tracking thing must have been. Like, I mean,
for sure. But to me, it's the risk that you're willing to take. You know,
true.
Got Netflix
actually, like,
you didn't want to let them down, and like you said, it was a week or a month before.
It was a month before it actually just got uploaded to Netflix. So yeah, they were still doing it, still going in the process.
I'm fascinated with that mentality because you could just, I always compare it to like basketball. You could just lay it up, or you could try dunking and press the crowd. You know what I mean? Like,
and be that guy.
That's you want to be
the legend.
You don't just go for the layup, even if you miss, if you bomb. I don't know. I like that mentality of just going for it.
If it had been any other type of animation style, like if they had done it the traditional 3D and all that, I think it would have went under the radar. I don't think I would have like looked at it as much. I think
exactly
the story would have been just as good, and if I had given it a chance. But I think because it had that different look to it, it had something that just it felt different. And I mean, when you watch it, it still has that kind of special differentness to it, you know.
Especially now knowing the 2D, man, the whole process that it went to.
Yeah, I was, I was going into the notes and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Another fun fact.
You should really watch Spider-Man because it has that same like blending of 2D, 3D type of thing.
And then the story's pretty good too.
We'll probably have a podcast episode on it because there's some facts about that one too that are just kind of crazy.
I haven't watched that one in Toy Story 4, man, because I just
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4 was the one that won
an Oscar.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That one, I mean, on a technical front, like to sidetrack a little bit, on a technical front, I'm very impressed because basically what they did is that they used cine lenses that they I don't even know how you would describe it, but basically they recreated cine lenses in a computer, so when they're capturing the animations, they can say that they're capturing it on a Zeiss Master Prime 35 millimeter at a certain aperture and all that. Like they
just for the 4? Just for 4?
Well, it's a new animation technology that Disney's implementing. I think they started implementing it in Inside Out, and it went into the 4th. But I mean, the 4th.
I hear about that. Yeah.
When the 4th came out, they really implemented it. Like, there's certain type of like bokeh styles and certain type of like anamorphic effects that are captured there, and it's because they simulated the look of like certain RE lenses or Zeiss.
You nerds.
Yeah, I don't.
Such a nerd talk.
I'm a technical guy. Like
I love it, man. I love it. I'm just trying to sound smart. I don't know.
Also, another fun fact, just to kind of show to show how like complicated it was putting this together. I said earlier that to create depth, because they were doing this weird style where they wanted it to feel more lively than like a regular 2D animation. They didn't want the worlds to feel flat, and to add depth to it, they made layers. So basically, like if you look at like the caves or the hills or anything like that, it's composed of a bunch of different layers that they stacked together to give it some depth, and they lighted it and all that. Well, that process in itself takes an extreme amount of time because you're trying to look at like the lighting, how it's affecting each of the layers, how that's coming together to give you this like scene that it doesn't feel too flat. In total, the amount of backgrounds that they had to make was 3,160 scene layouts. So for every time,
it doesn't seem like that much, but I don't know.
Get this. Okay, so if we're filming live action, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say if I film from one angle, I'm doing an over shoulder to you.
Right.
We're in one location. We're in like, let's say a house. So I can keep moving the camera, but that's just a different spot in the house because this was drawn. This wasn't animated. There was no house. Every background, every angle change had to be a scene that they had to make and create. And every time they change to a different area, they have to keep track of what they did for this scene. So that way they can put the same elements in the next scene. So in total.
Okay, my bad. I'm going a little too. You would think they would do the 3D model of the whole room, but you're saying
well, the director.
My bad.
No, the director didn't want it. He says, no, we got to draw it. That's why we're doing layers. We're doing it so that way it has its organic feel and all that. Like he was particular about the vision that he wanted because he knew what effect it would have in the end, which it worked. I mean, we're talking about it.
For sure.
But yeah, in total, there were 3,160 background scenes that needed to be created. And it's just because they could have been in one location, but if they used at least 5 angles, that 5 angles was 5 scenes that they needed to make for that one spot.
Yeah.
which makes you think it's crazy for the like sequences that go by super fast, like when they're doing that whole like chasing scene at the very end of the film where they're on the sleigh. Like how many scenes must have just like been painstakingly animated in, and then just like that's it, they're gone. It's just like that, you don't need to worry about it anymore. It's
They need
crazy.
to be able to be registered to the eye.
Yeah.
They should have like a split screen of showing like the Flintstones, the very, very first with the background just the same.
Yeah. Man, like I mean, I can't imagine like
Way, dude.
what throws me off is that they say that they had like, you know, let's say like 25 animators, and I'm pretty sure they had more. The fact that the art style stays so consistent, even though you have to pass that on to somebody else and they have to draw basically the same thing, right? Like that's
because everybody will draw it a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you would think that would like show, but these guys, I mean, whatever they must have been on.
True, man.
Candy cane to something.
What about the boat guy? Do you guys like the boat guy?
Which guy? Oh, Norm Macdonald, right?
Yeah, Norm Macdonald. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I love
it. But I love it.
Dude, he's come out in some weird stuff. Like I was looking him up to see if he came out in any other films recently, and the last film he did was something about like a detective dog. That's like a dog that's also a detective, and it's like, Norm, what are you doing? But hey, I thought he played a great boatman as far as like his
marketing right there.
Yeah, I wrote it. I think it's Norm the boat guy.
Norm the boat guy.
So like he's
it's great. I love how like sarcastic he is with everything. Like, oh yeah, ring that bell and they'll come out with the parade. They've been preparing it all day.
Look at that old guy up there, man. Yeah. He's
my god. He was absolutely fantastic. Probably like the best side gag character that you can imagine, like an animated film.
He would just show up. You got any more of those letters?
Basically. Well, I don't know if you guys have any more thoughts to say on Klaus before we move into our hot new segment.
The hottest hacks.
I like that also how the letters got too heavy. And they had to switch. From one horse.
Yeah.
It's a different take, man. It's the fairy tale.
Yeah. It's super cool. It's like all those little like catching the little glimpses of like how they changed it up. I mean, it made it really special. And I think they added those because if they didn't add those, then you would have felt like it's not a story technically about Santa, which it wouldn't be the reason you're coming for it. But because they added those in, it brings you back to like, oh, the myth of Santa, the legend of Santa, you know.
Even the wittiness of gesture when like Santa starts laughing, ho ho ho! Like I was not expecting that, but
yeah, I know. So that's how you laugh. Can I get another one? A little check on that.
The charm, man. Like you said, man, the charm of this thing is just off the charts.
Yeah, I forgot. Has everything to be a classic.
Okay, so I guess I know we've done this question, and it's weird for an animated film, but if you had to voice act any of these guys, also, I guess along with that question, like, what's your take on the whole voice acting for actors? Like, how do you feel?
Well, obviously, I would like to do gesture, but since you were talking about the whole, they had to draw them in 2D. I've always been fascinated of doing voiceover because I feel like the animators have to, like, you do the voiceover, but they're, in order to catch the authenticity of the word saying, they had to kind of like mimic my
kind of like inflection and tonality.
Exactly. That's why I've always been interested in voiceover. But you're saying with this one, it was way different.
Well, I mean, it's the same way. It's the same way as they used to do it. In fact, I don't know if this is correct or not. But from the way it seemed in the like, what is it called?
They do it differently in some of them. In some of them, they do it the way I said it.
In the notes, it seemed like they did the voice acting first, and then the animators were playing catch up. So then they were trying to like.
Okay, so yeah. So kind of.
And,
a lot of 2D. That's what they do with 2D. Usually, the actors have recorded at least like maybe a year or two ahead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because animating takes like so long, at least by hand. Usually, that's what happens. Like
that kind of makes sense with the
animation of the characters later.
Yeah, for sure. Because with The Simpsons, they only like record like Monday and Tuesdays, and then by Sunday the episode comes out and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've heard that with like animated TV shows, they just have an insane like turnaround times. Like I know that
Family Guy, I think you're talking about, because I saw the behind the scenes for that one.
Well, for
Also
South Park.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, South
Even on the
Park.
same day?
They like on the same day. That's when they like finish animating it, and then that's when it like aired. So when they're like trailering that, like, oh, it's gonna come out tonight at 8 p.m. They finish at like 5 p.m. that day. Like that's.
Is it because of the studios or because they just want to capture
Well,
that?
they're just like that.
They're just like that. That's their personality. They're just like lazy to the last day. Like I guess you know.
Yeah, I kind of like that because they're trying to stay with like the actor's voiceover.
Yeah.
2 months in, like, what was he doing when he was saying? I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
and then
the cool thing
also
with,
I've always been interested in that.
The cool thing with something like South Park, stuff like that, is that they already have templates. So at least they already know, like,
South Park.
These people are always
Their own
voicing these
thing going
characters, so they already kind of know the mannerisms that they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And something like that. And while at least with the movie, like you only get basically that one screening of that one type of character.
Also, like, if you were to watch the already animated sequence of them talking and you have to, like, I think, mimic that, I feel it would take you out of the role to have to try to guess, like, wait, how are they saying it? Like, are they?
But I think that happens also
that?
too, no? You don't think that also happens? Like,
I think they give
somebody
them
quits and they have to bring somebody else, and then, hey, you gotta.
I don't know. I think they give them the script.
Previs. I mean, there's such a thing as previs, which basically in animation, what they do is that they storyboard like these huge segments. It's just basically kind of these rough drawings of the sketches of the characters, and sometimes during the recordings, sometimes they'll put in like a little bit of that storyboard animation, kind of like of the flipboard of the character, basically.
So
and that way they kind of get an idea, like, okay, he's moving like this, or
yeah, something. There's different ways, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, because they had to rough sketch everything, and then they had to finalize the drawing where it was like just single solid lines creating the characters. So during the rough sketching phase, I can imagine that all that is there for the whole movie, so they can kind of think, well, we want him to do this certain action, let's cut out these parts, the sketches, and let's add in this part. Or we want him to like pop up, bring up a lantern and all that. So I think for the rough sketches, those are there. But I mean, almost as many rough sketches as the sketches needed for the film, if you think about it, because you want enough to kind of show you movement style. Because in animation, it's not only just how do they look, it's how do they move. Are they free flowing? Are they bouncy? Are they heavy? Are they brawny?
Does it have the whole rhythm with the
so I mean, I think they show them the rough sketches, but the rough sketches are pretty fleshed out enough so that way they have an idea like where this is all going.
And today I learned,
especially once you're a professional, like basically.
Yeah, because I've seen some behind the scenes with. I'm trying to figure out which one it was, where the guy was doing it. I think it was like Jason Bateman or something, and the character was nothing like Jason Bateman. But then you have other ones where, fuck, I had him on the tongue, where you could see he was literally doing when he's in the booth, the character's doing the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like, how?
I think
the little balls, you know.
You don't think that's like the actor getting into like the thing, like this is what my character is doing, so I got to be doing that, you know?
I don't know.
If they're jumping up and down, I gotta be saying it like I'm jumping up and down. Like I don't know. I'd imagine like that's kind of it's that interesting world because I mean even though we can kind of compare this to like films and other films and all that like live action, it's so in its own category from the way it's made to the way it's told and everything that you just
because I would assume that would happen like somebody got fired and the animation's already put and they're like yo but you gotta be like this I guess or you know it's not you. On a weird
yeah.
I was trying to do the other example. My bad.
But at the end of the day, you think the character that would be really kind of fun to play would be Chester?
Yeah, Jester or Chester?
Chester, I want to say.
I was saying
Jester?
Jester, no?
Let me see.
Chester. It's
Jesper. There we go with the J.
Jasper.
No, just.
No, yeah, but that's
this show. Can we mispronounce the name of the main character? the mailman. I'd like to play the mailman. The postman.
Yeah, man. I've always wanted a like voiceover, a witty, fast talking character. Dude. I think that would be pretty.
He looks fun because I mean he goes from like his kind of like snobby, pretentious like phase at the very beginning of the movie, and then I love the sequence of scenes where it's like thanks dad, and he's just going like with the horse and it breaks down and everything. That part's hilarious. I just love the way that was all put together.
For me, that always one of my favorite scenes with him, like how he looks and everything, is when the whole like he's facing up with the kid at the snowball, and
Oh
then
yeah.
he dares him like, okay, just throw that snowball one more
Yeah.
time.
Go ahead. Punch me. See what happens.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
and just the way it looks and everything. I always loved how it looked.
I gotta watch it again, man. Damn it.
Well, if you haven't already, viewers or Castro or Austin, um,
I have.
go watch it. It's a great thing to watch to end off 2020. I think it was just a really nice kind of heartwarming film, and maybe put us in a positive mood to start off 2021 with. Like hopefully, hopefully things get better. I mean, this podcast will keep going. It's persevered. We're making it to the end of the year.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the worst that can happen? A meteor?
Exactly. What's the worst? The flu too? No, it will be fine. It's great.
2.0.
So I think with the WatchTower coming to a close at the end of 2020, that also means that our segment, the Tower Crown, has its last 2020 special, right?
Oh well, it's about that time for the last Tower Crown of the year.
Tower Crown.
Ooh. Take it away, Yoko.
All right. So since we're celebrating the Christmas and animation, we decided to put up a poll with asking all the beautiful people out there, what was your favorite Christmas animated movie? And so, just to kind of remind the people out there,
It's a tough one.
these were the
Damn it,
options.
Costco. We're talking about Christmas.
All right. So the first one was Arthur Christmas.
I've heard it's a hidden gem.
Is that even a movie?
It really
It is.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Hidden gem.
Then a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Hashtag mainstream.
Also, we had How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Never heard of it.
And lastly, we had A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh wow, man! Such a
Nice.
different one from all the other ones. Okay.
Yeah. And the audience chose.
Y'all voted, and these were the top two. We have
Gotta go with Jim Carrey.
Charlie Brown Christmas against The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Come on, man! Everybody knows you guys like the Grinch. Come on.
Everybody knows.
Well, apparently
There's too many
not.
There's too many Grinch films. There's like the Jim
What?
Carrey one. There's the original, the original, the Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Which is it's a fun sequel. And then
Dude, I'm gonna let you flirt with that idea for like 5 more seconds, and hopefully you.
you could have shut it down.
It does have like an hour of padding, so.
Man, I loved it, dude. I don't know. All right, go for it.
It's actually Ashley's favorite Christmas film. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. You're
Yeah. If you don't set me straight, she will. All right. Okay.
So, for this occasion, I know Castro wanted to go for the Charlie Brown Christmas, right?
All right, I'll help out. I'll help.
All right. You'll help.
At
out,
least I
Charles.
remember you saying that. If that one, you'll be all over it.
Hey, man, I just do it. I got two solid.
Okay, I can't. Okay, I'll say this. I'm gonna choose Nightmare Before Christmas, and let's roll with that ball. I think. All right. I don't think it's possible to like say that one sucks because they're both.
Which one? You can't say which one. The Nightmare?
No, they're both like. I mean, they're cartoons.
You don't know how Castro feels about The Nightmare Before Christmas?
You know what? Yeah, let's start with Charlie. This is what I got to take.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right, for Charlie Brown, I think it's one of those movies where I'm gonna give you a little movie business 101, maybe 102.
Ooh.
Depends on you guys. It's for a wider range of a audience.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare Before Christmas is more for the cult classic for a certain audience. I don't like it, so you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But Charlie Brown is one of those movies where you could show it to a 1-year-old or an 80-year-old, and there's nothing bad about it. Whereas
But if you're 81,
yeah,
off the
81.
list.
Yeah. Take out a DVD. But with Nightmare Before Christmas, I feel like it's one of those that it scarred me when I was little. I thought it was too dark. It was just like, what? This is Christmas? I don't get this. And did you know that even the director, who do you guys think directed that film?
What, Nightmare Before Christmas or Charlie?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's Tim Burton.
Nope. He was doing the Batman one. Somebody else had to direct it. I think so.
It was his. Okay.
Like that. I read something like that.
All right. I'm gonna have to come back for Tiny Tim over here, Burton.
Okay, and then the second one is. Oh, that one sucks. All right. I'm at the I'm assuming Charlie Brown is PG.
It's G.
Yeah,
it's G, right?
Yeah, it's G actually. Yeah.
It's G for the good Christian kids out there.
And the other one should be rated at least PG-13, man, because
But no, I think it's actually PG.
It's PG.
It's PG. Damn it.
Yeah, no bad words. Cuddly characters sprinkled throughout. You know, it's just
back when the PG.
Okay. Let me start with statements for Nightmare Before Christmas. so Monsieur Tim Burton. This was an idea crafted by him from the concept. It was the concept of. It was a poem he wrote of the concept of when you have all these really nice like Halloween decorations for the October season, and the second October hits, they start tearing down all of these kind of like creepy crawly like icons and figures and all that, and they tear all that down. And they put up these Winter Wonderland, Santa, very happy characters. And that kind of struck him. And that's why it was called The Nightmare Before Christmas, because basically it's that transition of Halloween going into Christmas, and it goes away. And it's just kind of like where we idolize all these creatures. And then like once Halloween's over, that's all gone. And then you have these new idols that you're kind of looking at. And this Winter Wonderland, it's supposed to be a complete different shift from like one day to the next. So that's what he kind of wanted to talk about and wanted to display out in his film. It was actually the songs that were written and the music composed for the film was in partnership with the same composer from The Simpsons. So apparently him and Tim Burton had always been working together like a lot. And
that is interesting.
Yeah, he was able to help out for the project and claims that it was one of the easiest films to write songs for because he connected so much with the characters and like Jack Skellington and this kind of like I don't know, like losing the spirit within him and trying to find that rejuvenation. So he really enjoyed making the songs for it. So a lot of this was coming out of a passion, and also this was all adapted from like an old poem Tim Burton wrote. Another fact is that basically when this film was pitched out to like be made and all that, Disney was like, oh, okay, we're going to do 3D animation. It's going to be crazy. All the kids are using it. And Tim was like, no, you're not touching my film. Like we're doing it in this old, janky, stop motion animation styling because that's the way you do these films. So yeah, it's kind of like Klaus in the sense that he had a vision and this is how it had to be presented. So it's definitely like
I was reading about that's true.
Yeah. It does fall in that weird area where you don't know if it's a Halloween film or a Christmas film, but I think after hearing a little bit about where the idea came from, it's kind of meant to be that way. It's kind of meant to be that like...
I never saw it like that till you said it, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you can't really say like, oh, this is supposed to be for Christmas because it has Christmas in the name. And then it's like, but it's also super spooky most of the time. Like you said, like it's not really... It doesn't really capture all audiences. There is a bit of a cult classicness to it, but I mean that's like with all of Tim Burton's work. I think it's for the group that wants to see a director really kind of put his style out there and really kind of like play with the medium that he's working in.
So Yoko, write that down. Tim Burton's cult classic, Charlie Brown, a true classic.
A true classic.
Old school, way back in the day, kind of like 20, 30 years. Classic between cult classic. Just jot that down right there.
You want to hear a fun fact?
Any counter argument, sir?
Okay, well, not a counter argument, but I am going to add a fun fact to the Charlie Brown one. I found out that apparently they asked the guy Charles Schultz, the one who actually drew the Charlie Brown comics. Is it Charles M. Schultz?
The creator?
Yeah, the creator of the comics. They asked him, hey, because at the time, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus Comes to Town, all those kind of like animated ones were coming out, and they're like, the network was like, we need a Christmas special. Can you do that? Without batting an eye, he said yes, and he had never animated these characters. They're only meant to be in like the little 3-panel comics. So the whole big thing about the Charlie Brown Christmas special is that he had to find out a way to make the characters move, like motions, like walking and turning and interacting with each other. So
I remember reading about that too.
Yeah, it was his first like attempt at like making a film, and then also he partnered up with what is now like one of my favorite jazz musicians, Vince Guaraldi, and basically said, we just need Charlie Brown music, and never gave him anything other than that. So all the score and everything that we think is so iconic now with like the Charlie Brown, like, oh, that's the Charlie Brown music, he just kind of came up with on the spot, like as a jazz artist. Like that was just him, like, okay.
Those are always the ones that hit, man.
Being improvised.
See, Charlie Brown was an experiment, but a vision
which worked and has lasted.
But a vision from conception to finale. Where we got to talk about The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, this guy spent years both developing the story for it, developing his vision for it, and then also the technical mastery of the stop motion animation being implemented for a mainstream audience. I mean, that is extremely difficult. I mean, in fact, I think he wanted it to be in the stop motion animation style. What's up?
I told you it's not directed by him.
God,
jot that down.
Jot that down.
Jot it down, man.
But I mean,
by Henry Selick. I don't know if you said that right now, but fine.
Okay. Well, when you got a plan that's going to take as long as this film, I mean, because of stop motion animation,
you hear that?
You need.
Somebody's backing up.
you need somebody to help you out with it. But I mean, it's his vision, his story, his style. He just needs somebody to, take care of the grunt work, director. Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think this one just has a lot of charm in the sense that it's meant to push the Christmas genre a little bit more than what everybody's used to. I think that's why it's such a cult classic, because we're also used to the Halloween special looks like a Halloween special, Christmas looks like a Christmas special, but then there's this weird transitionary period, and some people call it Thanksgiving, some people call it November. We don't know what to do with it. So he tried to make a film that really tackles this change of kind of feeling, change of emotion that goes from like you're going from the spooky season to the overly happy season.
That's a really good one.
I think The Nightmare Before Christmas does that so well. And then it ends with a nice message, which is that everything really has its place. Everything is special for a reason. And sure, like we want to mix things and we want to mash things around and try to make the best version of whatever it can be. But respecting a place, like a tradition's place and time, and not moving it around, not changing the formula that's been working, I think that's what kind of makes, like it a special message to people that are trying to learn from this movie, and then also what it's trying to implement at the end. Nightmare Before Christmas, pretty good film, great film.
All right,
all I got for you guys.
Okay, well, one question, and then after this we could kind of like end it up.
Okay.
So, tell me why your movie encapsulates the feeling of being a Christmas special or being that significant for Christmas for kids.
Look at the photo.
Or well, not for kids.
Damn.
General.
Look at the photo and then look at his photo.
Okay, for those listening to audio, just imagine Charlie Brown Christmas. The first image that comes up is Charlie Brown next to a tree.
Big ass tree.
Big.
Wow.
And then what do we see? What do we see with A Nightmare Before Christmas?
He's wearing a Santa outfit. Is that not enough for you? Is that
like anorexic Santa died like 3 years ago?
Okay. This is what makes it touch on the Christmas spirit.
The red and white.
It's not trying to pervert the Christmas spirit. It definitely acknowledges it. It has Santa. It has elves. They live in a little elf village. They make toys. They have to. My camera died.
See, that's what I'm saying. Even they didn't want to hear it.
What the heck? No. Here. Okay, we're gonna pause real quick. We're pausing for the nice solid 10 seconds.
Man, you were in the rhythm for your last little take on it, so it's up to you, man.
Well, in the meantime, Caster, do you want to see what? Do you want to tell the people why do you think Charlie Brown should be the Christmas special?
Because that's the one that we all grew up in. I'm not just saying me, my dad, everybody grew up when Charlie Brown Christmas was, what is it, like 60, 70, 80?
It's 60s.
Exactly. You know, it's
Yeah, it
the
was
classic one. It teaches you about, you know, hanging with your friends.
Jesus.
You know, the whole Charlie Brown thing, man.
okay. The whole Charlie Brown thing, right there.
Okay. Write that down. Write that down. I mean,
All right.
yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say, the Nightmare Before Christmas touches upon all the things that make Christmas Christmas. The opening up gifts the night before or the night after, waiting for Santa, children being excited, putting out cookies and milk. It's got elves, but then yeah, it's got its creepy themes. But that's supposed to show that the two were never meant to mix. It's meant that when Christmas comes, it's special because that's its season, that's its time. And when Halloween comes, that's its time and its place. And it's okay that the two don't mix together well, but that, you know, they're meant to highlight each of the season, what makes them special.
That's from somebody coming that likes it. That's the culture. That's the audience. You're part of that small, little marginalized.
You make it. I feel like you're about to end that sentence with "You're the scum of the earth that just crawls around."
Seen on this underwear of
I've seen you guys at Hot Topic raiding the shelves of
you blue hair
Nightmare Before Christmas merch.
So yeah, what is it?
All right. So, any last words before I actually give out my tally?
Charlie Brown's bald. Changed my mind.
Charlie Brown's bald. Okay.
Damn it! Got some lines there.
All right. Anything? No. All right. So in that case, the winner is. Wait. Give it a second. It is.
Oh!
Okay, it's actually the Nightmare Before Christmas.
No! You just Steve Harvey. You just pulled a Steve Harvey on me.
Oh my
fair.
god!
No, the first one was
Oh my god! You know what? Yoko.
Yoko, you can't do that, Yoko.
Real quick. I was gonna say.
By rules, I'm the one that won because that's the first one that came out.
I was gonna say. For the first time, I've realized that even if I do research, even if I put up as many points as I can, even if I have to fight for a Halloween special that's also a Christmas special, like I did all that and I still lost. That just means that Tower Crown's rigged.
No,
I know. I was about to say it's rigged. This whole thing, and they put the,
I gotta be honest. I've never watched the Charlie Brown Christmas. That's why I was like,
what?
The last thing you asked me, I was like, fuck, I haven't watched it.
As long as you bullshit yourself.
Wait a minute. You even said I'm standing for my boy Charlie. What the heck?
I did the research on the movie. I didn't haven't watched it.
Dude, the movie's 20 minutes. Watch it now.
I didn't know it was 20 minutes. My bad.
Yeah, basically. Okay, basically.
So that's where Yoko got me at the end. I was like, damn it. I went through the whole thing without him asking me.
That's awesome, man. The fact that you stood toe to toe.
Because you had a lot of good shit, dude.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense for sure.
Well, that Charlie Brown one.
And actually, I mean, right from the beginning, you established that that it is a passion project, and that itself gave it a charm that until now it lasts. It keeps on lasting towards a lot of generations.
Exactly.
And while you did try to stand up for like, hey, Charlie Brown is the staple.
I'm trying, man.
It wasn't enough to convince me that it was a superior one.
Well, I saw the picture came out first, so that's how I'm gonna take it. So.
Well, like, I mean,
Harvey on me, man.
You're gonna trumpet. You're gonna trumpet where?
Yeah,
hey,
man.
until 10 p.m. we were winning at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Exactly. How did that shift? Just there's something there.
No, with the Charlie Brown special, like I think I've watched it like every year for Christmas.
That makes sense.
It's only 20 minutes.
I didn't even know. I feel bad.
The Grinch stole Christmas also is like 20 minutes.
No, but with that one was like basically there's something about the sound of it that I always loved, and I think that's what helped me kind of get into like jazz and appreciating jazz. But I've always come back to like him because he just has such a nice style to him, that Vince Guaraldi. And it's crazy how like really out of a fluke he created the sound of Charlie Brown Christmas, because he was just like, oh, I need something jazzy and Christmassy, and then he just starts playing like his music, and it's like, Okay, that's now a staple in every household. Like, good God.
It's kind of like
Bob
a risk
Ross
that should have
says-
been a risk, you know.
I mean, it's always about happy little accidents sometimes.
Exactly. I mean, I'm with that too.
Isn't it odd how like just how many films, I guess, kind of like the animated ones, are just like these little flukes. Like the Charlie Brown Christmas shouldn't have been a thing. Honestly, I think it might have been completed like probably like 2 weeks before it had to be aired on like national television. Like it was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those where like they drew it and they were like, well, what do you do with Charlie Brown? It's like, well, let's just make him buy a Christmas tree and we'll call it Christmas. And it's like, it shouldn't have been a thing, but it did, and now it's a phenomenon. And that was the first special. In case you didn't know, like out of all the Charlie Brown whatevers they've made, that was the first one.
I kind of said that, you know. I was
You got it. Well, I think that about wraps it up for these watching filmmakers. I'm not going to use the quote from the other podcast. These aficionados of cinema, these appreciators
Film aficionados
of the moving pictures. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this year, 2020. It's been wild to say the least, but we all made it through. Hopefully, everybody's doing well. Hopefully, everybody's safe and happy and healthy, and we're all going to go into the next year, and things will get better, I believe. But thank you for joining us. I mean, if you found this podcast this year, or if you've been keeping track of our other podcasts,
I mean, it's not like there was a podcast. This was a podcast from 2019. So
no, but we had the Tower Cast. So if you followed us from the Tower Cast, you came to the WatchTower, and you like what we're doing, and thank you for continuing to vote and everything like that. Thank you to all the listeners on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcast, Anchor, wonderful sponsor. Austin, thank you for sponsoring us.
Austin,
you were the only Christmas present I wanted.
Oh,
coming to show his presence from the dark side.
But that about wraps it up. Thank you for joining us again. This has been an amazing episode talking about Klaus, and we're excited for what's coming next year. A lot more movies to talk about, a lot more to be debating about. So
also,
keep voting.
Comment down below, you know, what new hair color do you guys want below for 20?
Yeah.
You know,
who knows? 2020, the year I go bald. It's a mystery. It's up there. But from all of us to you, Yoko's mic just died. Give it a minute. You'll realize, Yoko, your mic died. No, your mic actually died. What do you want to do with this?
Hello.
There you go. Yoko.
There you go.
What were the last words?
Well, just in case if nobody knows how to lip read, maybe maybe 2021 will be the year we actually review The Cable Guy.
Oh, we didn't have enough time for 2020. They're right. Dang. Well, that about does it for these film appreciators. Thank you for listening to the WatchTower podcast. More to come next year. Please follow us on any podcasting platform. If not all podcasting platforms, we're also going to be on YouTube. And we have an Instagram out, the Towercast Network Instagram, that you can keep up to date with all the podcasting information that's going to be coming from us. Who knows? Maybe another podcast, maybe more film appreciation, more guests. You're going to have to keep tuned.
Talking shit on the mic.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.
Happy New Year, guys. Love you guys.